Yes.
Oh.
You know, if you are coming into this building today, maybe you are serving in a capacity because you're a voter and you're being judge somebody in a court. So most of the time, people don't realize that they have rights and responsibilities that go all the way back to the colonization of the United States of America, right? And so no representation, no taxation without representation really meant that the people had to know what was going on in the courts. And last week in the courts here in Denver, Colorado, they dismissed cases of domestic violence in the household, fighting and beating up and things like that, so that people who were using their free speech voice to talk about George Floyd and issues of violence in our society, so that those people protesting in the street would serve trial instead of people who are abusing their loved ones. It's a really messed up world that we live in.
I agree with you, and I'm not too happy that we get away because of that reason, but I think it's good to be involved and active.
It is, and it's important that when we're called to jury service, that we actually take the time to participate, right? Why are we going to trial today? What is the case, right? And if we're called to trial, and we're seeing that our government is wasting money, time, and lives on matters that are very small compared to, do you really need to tell me that the guy skating on the sidewalk filming the police is a bad person versus this guy who's arming, robbing cars and whatever. There's really an importance. What are we coming to court today for? And should the government actually be? Is there a victim?
Good job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Because it's good.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you.
Money's no good in this town.
What?
The money's no good.
No, it's all evil.
Well, it is because it's worthless. Is that a petition?
It is. Are you a voter here in Denver?
No.
This petition is for voters in the city and county of Denver who are registered to vote here because they lived here for more than 30 days.
Oh.
To allow them to put recycling in apartments and condos here in our city.
Yeah, but see, the thing is that every law passed by Congress, by the legislature of any state, and every ordinance passed by an initiative or by a city assembly or a county board of commissioners or borough assembly or any other municipal board is passed for the punishment of man into compliance with its measures and for the fines and prison time that may be imposed. Because every single law on the books, it's on the books for the fines and the imprisonment that can be imposed if you read the law. Nothing else matters about the law. It's all about the fines and the prison time.
That's very interesting because you're right. Laws are definitely created to dole out punishment,
Yeah.
not to necessarily lift up or support those who are doing things the right way.
No,
right?
They don't want that. No. Do the right thing and you can make a living? No. They want people like me in prison.
Sorry to hear that.
And what they call money, if they give it to people like me, it's so that I can be forced against my will to spend it on something I don't want to spend it on, or restrained from buying something I do want to buy with my own money that could have been my own if it weren't worthless federal or Confederate script.
Federal or Confederate script. I like that.
Well, the Confederate and federal are the same thing. Because you remember, that worthless, that Confederate script they printed in the Civil War?
Yeah.
That's what the Federal Reserve Bank, they said they're going to print the same kind of script with the same policies and everything as a Confederate South Civil War.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and they keep...
Look, folks, it's the defendants. 2 of them right there. Defendants. A, defendant B. I have a lawsuit. Those 2 ladies are going to see me in a federal courthouse. Because they're oath breakers.
Okay.
Well, when you take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, you're supposed to actually follow that oath. And it's very unfortunate how many people break their oath on a regular basis. Those 2 specifically.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you.
Hey, absolutely.
There was a couple female cops in Anchorage, Alaska. Kind of got too friendly, like that pair was doing.
Yeah.
I got away from them before they hurt me, but they were found out they were trying to go to car against me, and it never flew in car.
Okay.
So I pretty much never set foot in their district again. I never got caught in their area.
Isn't that part of the thing?
Yeah.
How they get us? They get us to go away. It's
Yeah.
a true issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see this lady here. She's on her way here for jury services.
Yeah. Okay.
I come out here to educate people about that are called in to serve on a jury today
Yeah.
about their rights as citizens, as voters, and constituents in this community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, they don't like that because they're feds, and they call it like they're tampering with the jury.
Well, no, actually, we have a legal authority and responsibility to educate jurors about their rights.
Yeah. Well, that's good because if it doesn't refer to specific pay,
All right. Well, remember to use your conscience today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, man.
You too.
Remember to use your conscience today, folks. When you're called into jury service, it's a high and mighty honor, a tradition that goes back to the colonization of these United States of America. A act of words. No taxation without representation. Means that in a court of law today, a jury is going to sit in the box. If you're called to serve on that jury, you've got rights. Rights as old as the paper that founded this country. Know what those rights are, sir.
You got that right. I agree with you 100%, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Right on.
Have a great day.
Appreciate it.
It's important, This is the balancing ground.
Now more than ever.
Now more than ever, right?
Thanks, partner.
Thank you. Got some flyers if you're looking for information on the role of a jury today, folks. The importance of juries in our government and the checks and balances of the system. No taxation without representation was the words that lit the fire that formed this country. How are we being represented by our government employees today? Is the city attorney's office prosecuting cases surrounding domestic violence, assault, abuse? Are we taking on people who stood in the street, on a corner, on a sidewalk, saying, I'm tired of watching people get killed on my television? How are our taxpayer dollars being used today? These are important questions. As those going into these hallowed halls of justice, we must remember that we carry the responsibilities of our community on our shoulders. So how can one person make a difference? Almost every day, new attempts are made to limit the power of a jury, mostly during subtle changes in rules of courtroom procedure. But you have a right to use your conscience today when you walk into these hallowed halls of justice. The role of a jury is important now more than ever. If you're called to jury service today, I thank you. I thank you for being a regular and consistent voter in our community. I thank you for coming to answer the call to be the checks and balances. I remind you that you have a right to use your conscience when you're called to sit on a case. Determine if the government's dime, your taxpayer dime, is being used appropriately. Are there victims in the case? Should we really be trying these matters? Is it an appropriate use of the courts? Or is common sense telling us that the city attorney's offices are persecuting people unnecessarily? These are all questions, folks. Remember, if you're coming to court today, you have a right to a jury to judge you. If you've done nothing wrong, demand a jury. Demand that your peers judge you. If you're being called to jury service this morning, thank you for answering the call. Know, good folks, that if you're not, there's a reason why we have juries today. They checks and balances. Don't just take a deal. Nine out of 10 cases get dropped on the day of trial because there's no evidence against a person. There's no victim. And when we're called to jury service, we're never told that we use our conscience. It's so important. For answering the call to the jury. Nothing more important than sitting on a jury, looking at the city attorney, the judge, the defendants, and saying, why are we here today? Are we here because there's bad people in society? Or the bad use of taxpayer dollars persecuting people where there's no victim? The role of the jury is so important today. And good morning to you, whoever's out there, the 8 of you in the world. Listen, I need you all to know that at 4 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, we're going to have a really shitty show. Good morning, Blibbits. Human Love Solidarity. Lacey R. Princess and the Pirate. Where's Wendy? Freddie Show. Hi all to you. We are out here this morning because today there will be a trial. Who's going to trial? We don't necessarily know. But we know the rights of people are being abused every day. Good morning, ma'am. How you doing today? Excellent. I'm out doing some jury education today. A lot of people being called in to serve on a jury.
Gotcha.
And they're not told when they get there, they have rights. Rights as old as this country was founded. No taxation without representation. Literally the idea that the people have to see what's going on in the world. Last week, cases of domestic violence and abuse were being dismissed so that the city attorney's office could prosecute people who were standing in traffic for what's going on this week? Only those who truly pay attention on a regular basis will know. If you call to serve in any way today, you should know what your rights are, responsibilities, are they victims? Is it gives you some tax $1 million. Why does somebody fight all the way to trial? Mostly because they know they're not guilty. They're not guilty of doing something wrong.
I am running late for church. You
Have a
know?
great day.
Thank you.
Don't worry, you're gonna be here all day, so
I'm
you know.
sure. I'm sure.
What a great feeling to know you're alive. Such a great feeling to know you can wake up and say, everybody, what will be happy at 4? You'll be busy. Well, I'm going to tell you that today, the accusers of and victims of Tay Anderson, school board director here in Denver, Colorado, are coming to the Colorado State Capitol to make their claims. And it's alleged that there are 60 plus people who have sought protection from being abused or the fear of being abused from Director Anderson. Nobody has ever named or put out their faces yet. Today's the day that work happens. So we'll be live at 4 at the Capitol to bring that information to all of you. Right? That's what we're going to do at 4 o'clock today. This morning, we're just kind of chatting with the people coming in on jury service, making sure they know the importance of their role in the world today. Because there's nothing like serving on a jury. There is nothing like being a member of the accountability partners, observing what happens in the courthouse. Victims, no victims, you know, who are we persecuting? What a great feeling to know you're alive. Such a great feeling to know you're alive. To wake up and say,
Yay, the correct law prevailed. Yay!
yeah, what'd you get, your case dismissed?
Yes.
Fan-fucking-tastic.
And
So close.
we went all last year through this case. Some girl tried to say I raised my fist to her and threatened her, which I didn't. And so they had this trial. It was our first day back, and I got my paperwork.
Dismissed,
Yay.
right?
Yes.
There's a reason that I'm out here reminding jurors that it's their conscience when they're called to sit on a case, right?
And see, this was a jury. I set it up for a
Set it
full
for
jury trial.
jury trial.
Yes.
And that's because you were not guilty. And the
Correct.
system is not designed to hear you. The system is designed to process and punish you, presumed guilty, unless you're willing to
Unless
fight for your
proven
innocence.
otherwise. Yes.
That's right. That's right. And so we're out here today providing jury education
Here,
documents.
I'll take one of them.
Because we need more people to come out and do this, right?
Yes.
On any given day, this government off this building right here persecutes people for doing things they have no control over. I'm limited.
She'll take one too.
No, I'm limited on my supplies. You guys have one for the group, right? Because jury service is such an important call. It's the last bastion of hope, folks. This is where we educated people who vote, who participate in our government, get to keep our government in a system of checks and balances. Are we prosecuting cases where the people, the city, the government is harmed? Or like this gentleman right here, are the people going to jury trial standing up and saying, I didn't do anything, but the government will not hear you? Congratulations, man. That's a win. dismissed on the day of jury trial because the government said this is a waste of money to prosecute this case. They don't do it on a regular basis. Their habits instead are to charge people for victimless crimes, to waste our taxpayer dollars when they built a system that's broken. How do we charge somebody for peeing on a tree if there's no bathroom for them? How do we charge them for sleeping on the sidewalk when there's no bed? Why do we charge people for following the law? Just a few weeks ago, I was in this building in a jury trial for filming a protest. The Constitution says I have a right to film. A free press is necessary for a free country. And yet the city of Denver charged me as a criminal for using my camera. Who's going to be charged today? What's the purpose of putting victimless crimes before a jury when there are so many people being damaged in our society today? The role of a jury is to use their conscience in a case, to understand who the victim is, what the crime is, to understand the morality of the prosecution in pushing the case to the point where people spend their day making a decision. Use your conscience, folks. Please remember, as jurors, we have the right to use our conscience. The thing the courts don't tell you anymore. Why do most judges tell you that you may consider only the facts? That you must not let your conscience, opinion of the law, or the motives of the defendant affect your decision? In a trial by jury, the judge's job is to referee the event and provide neutral legal advice to the jury to properly explain all the jurors' rights and responsibilities. But today in our courts, judges do not remind the jury that they have a right to use their conscience to determine if the law is a good law, to determine if the application of that law is appropriate by the government employees who are paid with our tax dollars to do these things. As jurors, we have a right to use our conscience to determine if the government is appropriate in bringing us here today. Judges rarely inform jurors of their rights, especially their right to judge the law itself. That's right. As jurors, we have the right to judge the law. Is the law a good law? Should it be a law? Is the government applying this law equitably? Is there a victim? If there's no victim, how can there be a crime? When you serve on a jury today, don't forget to use your conscience. The thing that's so crazy about this, ladies and gentlemen who are listening in the backgrounds while you're working this morning, is that court's still virtual for the most part. most of the people walking into this building are either government employee or juror. It's that simple. You're either a counselor, meaning that you're a city attorney or government attorney, district attorney, I should say, or you're the employees. Because what we don't have is a place full of people coming in for cases. Morning, sir. How you doing today? Did you know that people who come into this building to serve on a jury have a right to use their conscience?
Have a right to use your what?
Conscience. So I'm out today educating people about the role of the jury in our government today. You know, even back from the founding of our country, the motto of no taxation without representation literally meant,
Right.
why are you taking people overseas to courts when, we're not there to judge or to
Right.
be involved? Here in these courts today, we have a lot of people being prosecuted.
Right,
When
I
there's no
agree.
victim,
I agree.
right? It's like, why is the government pushing this case versus cases that really might make a difference in people's lives? And so I'm out today just educating, just reminding people how important it is to serve on a jury.
Fucking sucks.
It sucks, but do you know that just 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was put in a box.
I can't find anyone guilty anymore, and then I drop it out. There's some people, like my son, he was got in trouble. He was a lookout man. Two guys were doing a burglary. He got more than 9 years. He got more time for being a lookout than the guy that been in the house.
Damn,
Yeah, who's fucking bullshit?
damn.
I'm gonna try to get out of this shit.
Well, I hope you don't. I hope you actually keep your mouth shut, listen, and take it all the way. Spend a day. Spend a day seeing the prosecutor.
Yeah, I have before, but you know what? Before the last one I stood on, the jury trial, they found this. They convicted us because he had and just before we even heard what she did, they found her guilty. But
What?
hey, did you want this?
Yeah, I'll use it for the next one.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Have a good day.
Yep.
I need to charge my little box up. It is not running very well. Battery's dead. But now my battery's. What is the role of a jury in our society today? It's to use our consciences when we're called into the courthouse over a case. We are to be judging the laws as well as the application of the law. The role of a juror is to use their conscience. How exciting a world we live in today. Morning, folks. Being called into jury service this morning, we thank you for being a regular voter. Thank you for knowing that you have a right to use your conscience to judge the law, to judge the application of law, to determine if your tax dollars as a Denver County voter are being used appropriately. Thank you for answering the call today. Thank you for determining what a good law and a bad law is. Thank you for being willing to stand up to tear down victimless crimes and the laws being used to damage other humans. You called for jury service, don't worry, you're going to be here all day. Thank you. Thank you for using your voice today. As a representative of this government, a government of the people, for the people, by the people. Walking in the doors this morning to this hall of justice or injustice means so much today. We hope that you'll be alert. Listen to the words the judge says. Consider how they tell you whether you're allowed to use your conscience, whether or not you're allowed to judge the law, whether or not you're allowed to consider if there's a victim in this incident, this case. Don't forget to tell other people what their rights are. Tell your fellow jurors how they have the right to use their conscience, how they have the right to determine how their tax dollars are being used. Last week, these fine courts dismissed cases of domestic violence and abuse so that protesters standing in the street could face trial for using their voice, the same voice that founded this country with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States of America. Remember that when you enter these halls as a voter, as someone called to jury service, you are being called not only to find whether somebody is innocent or guilty of breaking a law, but whether or not that law is a good law designed to protect society, or whether it's a law designed to persecute people. If there is no victim, how is there a crime? Why are we spending taxpayer dollars prosecuting people who have to pee on a tree instead of giving them bathrooms to pee in? Why are people going to jail for filming the police? These questions and more, it is your responsibility to use your conscience. Many people don't get fair trials. Jurors often end up apologizing to the person they convict or to the community for acquitting a defendant when evidence of guilt seems pretty damn clear. Something is definitely wrong when a juror is called and then they feel guilty about their service. Good morning, sir. I think you're wanted over here. I believe this is the building you're coming to. If I might offer you a document, it'll educate you on some of your rights as a juror. We thank you for answering the call, being willing to serve, being willing to judge the government, the laws that they're upholding, the application of those laws, whether or not the laws are good, whether or not people should be facing trial, whether or not there's a victim. When jurors try to vote their conscience, they're often talked out of it by other jurors who don't know their rights. So when you're called to serve on a jury, please tell the other jurors of their rights. A hung jury does not unduly burden the taxpayer. What unduly burdens the taxpayer is the judge's failure to tell you that when you come to serve on jury service, you're a high and honored person And that high and honored responsibility requires you to use your conscience to determine if there's a victim, to determine if the law is a good law, to determine if the application of the law is a benefit to our society. Thank you, jurors, for being willing to serve, for being regular and consistent voters, for knowing the role. Good morning. Good morning to all of you watching a dumpster. Love the way you work it, yo diggity. I like your style. Well, we got quiet all of a sudden. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If you're called for jury service today, we thank you. Thank you for being willing to serve on the jury. Remember today to ask some questions. Is the law being applied today a good law? Should the law be applied? Is it being applied appropriately? Was the Bill of Rights honored in the application of the law and in the application of arresting somebody for their alleged crime? Will the punishment fit the crime? Is there a victim? These are all questions you need to ask yourselves today, folks, when serving on jury service. Do 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 do. Oh, thank you, Lacey. Hope to catch you later. Human love, solidarity. Good morning, folks. We're gonna need to amplify and rebroadcast our 4 o'clock position today. It's gonna be a scary one. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming and answering the call to jury duty. One of the most important things you can do today is stay. Use your conscience and determine what is the government doing with your taxpayer dollars. Are they being applied appropriately? It's a good question. Are we prosecuting people where there's victims? Or are we dismissing the cases where people are being harmed the most? Is the law being applied appropriately? Is the law a good law? Who's going to trial today? Somebody who stood out for George Floyd? Somebody who peed on a tree? Somebody who abused somebody? We have to ask these questions. We have to know why. Why are we putting people through the process that this court demand? Is it because we as a society are honoring our laws, are honoring our role to humanity? Or are we prosecuting people where there's no victim? People who stand all the way to jury trial usually see themselves as not guilty. Do we give them a chance? Do we see them as potentially not guilty too? Good morning.
Morning.
Those who enter this hallway have an important role today to keep the scales of justice balanced. We have to remember that as jurors, we have a responsibility to use our conscience to determine if the law is a good law, if the application of the law is an appropriate application. We have to determine if there's a victim, or is the victim the taxpayer wasting their money on so many inappropriate persecutions. Already this morning, cases have been dismissed because the people said, no, I didn't do anything wrong. If you're here because you didn't do anything wrong, remember that a jury is here to serve you. And if you are here because you've been summoned as a voter to serve on a jury, we thank you. And we ask you to use your conscience today. Judge the law. Judge the application of law. Judge the system. It is your responsibility to be the last bastion of hope for we the people in order to form a more perfect union. We vote, we use our conscience, we determine if the application of law is appropriate when we serve on a jury. When we say not guilty and we go before a judge and jury, it's because we feel that we didn't do anything wrong. Just a couple weeks ago, I was here because I was filming a protest, and the city attorney's office felt that it was a crime to film a protest. The city attorney's office felt that using my camera was a violation of law. And it was a jury's responsibility to determine whether the law was a good law, whether there was a victim, whether in their conscience they could determine what the city was up to. And when we're called to serve on a jury, we are called to use our conscience, just like we do when we vote regularly and consistently to get called for jury service. Good morning. Morbid Blibbits. Good morning, everybody. Glad you're here. Want to remind everybody, please come to this channel today at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time when the victims of Tay Anderson will stand up and speak their allegations to a public. Cannot express that more. More. It's going to be a hot one today at 4 o'clock, folks. It's going to be hot outside. It's going to be hot inside. The emotions are going to be raw. People said, show us the victims. Who are they? Today, those victims are going to stand up. Today, those victims are going to stand up. This is Denver Police Cadets coming up here, I believe. Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you cadets
Yes, sir.
for the Denver Police Department?
For like fire, police, and sheriff.
Fire, oh, so Department of Safety. You decide after you get in which way you go.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. I wish you well in your pathways and hope that you will remember how important it is, the service that we do, and making sure that we're applying the laws appropriately when we're out there in the world today. Thank you. Cadets. It's a great feeling to know you're alive. Such a great feeling to know you're alive. Gonna wake up and say, it's an skewed view of the world today. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Lindsay Flanagan Courthouse, often known as the halls of injustice in our city. If you're here on a case, make sure you demand a jury represent you. If you're here to answer the call, the summons for jury service, thank you for the high and honored responsibility that you take today. Please remember to use your conscience. Remember to use your conscience to judge the law, not just the defendants. Remember to use your conscience to judge the application of law, not just the defendants. Make sure you can determine in your mind if the law is a good law, if the application of the law is a good application of the law. Remember to determine in your conscience if there's a victim. Because there's an old song. No victim, no crime. Cannot sing this morning. No victim, no crime. Got my water bottle in the car. When it's your turn to serve as a juror, be aware. You may and should vote with your conscience. You cannot be forced to obey a juror's oath. You have the right to hang a jury with your vote if you cannot agree with the jurors. You have a right to use your conscience to determine if the application of a bad law should happen. Is the law a good law? Is the application of law appropriate? These are questions our high and honored jurors must ask. We thank you for answering the call to jury service. And we thank you for using your conscience today. Good morning, ma'am. Some information about your rights if you should ever be called on a jury. Thank you. Remember the time-old, time-tested. No taxation without representation. Those who vote and those who are taxed in the county are called to serve on a jury. When we're called, we must use our conscience. We must become aware. What we're saying here. Good morning, Robert. Good morning, Pajama. Everybody that's still here this morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Be right back. You watch my stuff, huh? Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As we hang outside these hallowed halls of what some often call injustice, I want to remind you that if you're called because you have a case, you have a right to a jury, a group of your peers to judge you. And if you're called this morning to serve on jury service, we thank you. The most high, honored, and necessary role of the people is to be the checks and balances our Constitution was founded on. No taxation without representation means that we need the taxpayers and the voters to come to court. We need them to judge the laws that we're applying on people today. We need the people to use their conscience. Are laws being applied justly? Are people being persecuted for victimless crimes? Right? What are our taxpayer dollars being used for? This morning I've already met a person who for a year has been fighting false accusations of assaults. And it's taken over a year for the court to get to the point where the city attorney says, yeah, this isn't worth prosecuting anymore. But how long does a person have to be prosecuted and persecuted before they get their day in court? And when they get their day in court, will the jury use their conscience? I sure hope so.
I sure hope so too.
And that's why I'm out preaching this
I
morning.
sure hope they have the conscience.
That's why we're out here.
What's your name, brother?
Brian, man.
Mike.
Nice to meet you.
I'm here for the first time in my life to support a friend of mine who's going to court today. 60-year-old woman, they want to give her 90 days in county jail
For what?
for bailing on probation 2 years ago.
She skipped probation. What was her charge?
I think possession,
Possession of what?
controlled substance.
Must have been a pound or more because that's not a persecutable case anymore. Low-level
Not back
quantities.
then. This is 2019.
Yeah, but the law says that low quantities of drugs are decriminalized. I have
Under an ounce, right?
huh?
Isn't it
Under an ounce. That's right. Under an ounce.
It's considered personal use.
That's why we can grow mushrooms,
That's what I consider personal use.
right? I mean, if you got an ounce of methamphetamine,
That's personal use for me.
it's a lot of,
There's a lot of meth.
that's a deadly amount of meth.
It could be.
Yeah?
I wouldn't do it all at once. I just smoke it.
I wouldn't do meth.
I prefer crack.
I did, but I gave it up.
I gave it up when I started smoking meth. I'm not conscious of that. Just got something.
Well, I would hope that you would have a chance to get out of both of them.
I've been trying for a long time. Got the hooks in me pretty good.
Well, it takes one day at a time. It takes accountability.
Oh, I hate accountability.
Ha ha!
I'm not ashamed to admit it though. I'll own my shit.
It's hard.
Just like I did every time I've been in the courtroom. I've been there more times than I care to remember.
Yeah,
But
well,
I own my shit.
I was just in court a few weeks ago for videotaping a protest, and I was put before a jury because the city attorney wanted me to go to jail for having a camera in my hand.
What the fuck?
That's right. That's right. It took a jury to actually say, this isn't a good use of our taxpayer dollars.
This is stupid.
Get the fuck out of here.
Douglas County gave me 3 years in prison and a 2-year jail for shoplifting less than $100. So Colorado has to defang the law now. If you commit any kind of theft with a quote-unquote burglary tool, automatic second-degree burglary charge. What the fuck ever?
Wow.
It's like 75-year-old cop arrested me.
It
I
happens.
thought he was gonna nut his pants. I'm gonna charge you with second-degree burglary because I can. Like,
Sec. Good morning, folks. If you're here to serve on jury service, I've got some flyers over here. Education a judge might not tell you, like the fact that you have a right to use your conscience to judge both the law and the application of law. The right to use your conscience to determine if you should even be here today. The right to use your conscience. The judge won't tell you, but you have a right to use your conscience. On the application of law, as well as whether or not the law is a good law. Thank you for serving on a jury, and thank you for using your conscience today.
what got you started coming out here doing this?
Eric Brandt. Do you know who Eric Brandt is?
Can't say I do.
He is a man who said that it is time to advocate for the random execution of judges. Taking 1 or 2 of their lives a year will keep them all in line.
Wow.
And for that statement of his opinion, because they banned him from entering the courthouse without shoes on his feet. They actually, it's posted on the door.
Really?
You have to have shoes to come into
No
the
shoes,
building.
No service?
No shoes, no service. Is that a good application of law? Is that a
It could
good
be,
use of the
depending on
judge's time?
what their service is going to be for you.
Yeah, their service is usually is
I
taking.
tell them, keep your service. Yeah. It's all about money.
It is all about money.
I learned that through Douglas County.
And when we serve on a jury, we must use our conscience to determine whether the money is being used appropriately. Are we prosecuting people who abuse others? Or are we prosecuting people where there's no victim? If there's no victim, how is there a crime?
My name's Brian.
Yeah, I usually have my barker on, but
Oh, you got a good barker.
yeah, the problem is I was up talking all night last night.
So was
Little party we were
I was
having.
down in Colorado Springs picking up, bonding some guy out, picking him up in Paso County.
Oh, that's rough.
It was rough for us sitting there for 6 fucking hours trying to fucking get him out. We got to the bomber's place.
Oh, really?
6 fucking hours.
Really?
I'm like, what the fuck?
Do you have any idea what that means?
That they're never in a big hurry to get you out of jail. They're sure as fuck in a big hurry to get you to fuck in.
That person has a lawsuit against El Paso County for violation of state law. Whoever it was that bonded them out, right? But when you turn in that money, the clock starts. State law says you have 4 hours to get me the fuck out of that building.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
4 hours.
I waited 24 hours to wrap over.
24 hours can happen based on fingerprinting, right?
I got plenty of copies of my fingerprints in this thing.
Well, you know, it's ID. There's a variety of things. You got some, so yeah, 4 hours from the time you pay bail to the time they must release you.
I was not aware of that. What kind of recompense can you get on that? Any idea? I think you trip me out with home wheels.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
You've done it?
Yes, once
You
or
wouldn't,
twice.
you wouldn't catch me.
You really have to balance very well on them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And you kind of, the way you lean is go or break.
Yeah, if you lean
Okay.
forward, it goes. If you lean back, it goes. First time I saw somebody on one of them, he fucking leaned forward, bit too much, face planted. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
that's
happens
exactly
too.
why I'm never gonna try that.
That will happen too. Okay, the sun has breached my location, folks. It has come over the Van
Supposed to hit
Cees.
100 degrees
detention facility. It is going to be 90 something. Tomorrow it's going to drop to 80. It'll be a little bit cooler. Frank, PJ, Spot Check News. Yeah, have a great day. I'm actually calling it also. Because when the sun comes over the building, the jurors stop coming. Have a good day. That's how I know. It's 8:30. The sun has risen over the Lindsay Flanagan Court, or the Van Cease Detention Facility. And that means my work here is done, folks. Join us at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for the victims of Tay Anderson coming to speak their truth. It's pretty dead out here. Not enough people coming to the courthouse physically. Getting sentenced virtually to jail, and you're not even physically present to have witnesses stand up on your behalf. Shit is fucked up, folks. I'll let you know if anybody's in the Denver area and needs to come to court today. I'd love to have you down here, support our guys, our gals. But mostly these courtrooms are empty still. It's really messed up. Trials going on in empty rooms. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out.